Here outside Rich Stadium. A tasty low cholesterol snack being whipped up by some of the faithful. And people go just a bit crazy in anticipation of a big game. Jim Kelly striding in, followed by Thurman Thomas, who got lost on his way to Dodge City. Don Shula disembarks. He's 3-0. If he could come out of here with a win today, they've got 2 left against the Colts, 2 left against the Patriots, 2 against the Jets for Dan Marino and company. A victory today wouldn't necessarily put them in the driver's seat in terms of the division title over the Bills, but they'd be in great shape for a wild card. We've got 2 game reports beginning with O.J. Simpson standing by live at Rich Stadium. Here is the juice.
Well, Bob, it's a perfect day for football weather-wise here in Buffalo. Temperature in the mid-60s. Somewhat breezy down here on the field, but it shouldn't affect the players. I saw a smiling Don Shula. Says it's the best weather he's ever gotten here in Buffalo. He was concerned about the Buffalo Bills team. Wasn't smiling about that. There's always concern about the offense, but there's now concern about the Bills defense led by Bruce Smith. I caught up to Bruce as he came into the stadium and talked to him about his matchup with a guy who's given him a lot of trouble the last couple of years, Richmond Webb.
The lost and found department.
He's a great player, and I think it's going to be a tremendous challenge for the both of us, and I'm looking forward to it.
The Bills have done well against the Dolphins, but now with the addition of Keith Jackson, has that changed the way you guys prepare to play against him?
No, I think he's going to be a smart player today, and it's something that when he comes into the ball game, I think 90% of the time it's going to be a pass play, and he hadn't had a chance to learn their system, so I imagine that they're going to have a few plays in their form which he can actually get a catch in the ball game.
Now, I spent some time down in Miami this week, and the guys were really surprised by how quickly Keith has picked up their offense. Now, Bob Trumpy, you're an old tight end to tight end. How will he fit into this Miami offense, and what problems will he have?
Yeah, Juice, we do speak the same language. He was an academic All-American at Oklahoma, so Don Shula thought that he would pick up the offense quickly. We had a lot of questions for Keith Jackson, among them his conditioning. Said aerobically he's fine. He weighs 254 pounds. He wants to get to 250, so that shouldn't be a big factor. There are a lot of problems when you change teams. One is the language. Right now, English to Keith Jackson is the old Philadelphia nomenclature, and the foreign language is Miami's nomenclature. So we asked him, how does he deal with that translation?
What I had to do this week was to transfer Miami's offense into old Philadelphia language. You know, they call, say, defensive zone, double zone. We call it 6 zone. So I would just write 6 zone out there. Or if it's a certain pass route, I call it a corner. They call it a bow out, and it's different things. So I would just write down Philadelphia's terminology until I learn their terminology all over again. But this week, to help me get over is a crash course. One of those courses you always hate when you went to college. I had to take it, though, just to graduate. Now I'm graduating, and hopefully I can play.
One other factor to consider, the last time this young man was on the field and took a hit was December 22nd with the Eagles against Washington. That could be a factor. We understand that he's not part of a real package with Miami. He's going to start series and play the entire series. Yeah, I think Keith Jackson is an impact player and will be a positive impact, have a positive impact on the Miami offense. My only question is, when, Robert?
Well, we'll get Bill Parcells' thoughts on that just a little bit later in the show, and we'll check back with Bob Trumpy and Dick Enberg for the call of the big game between the Dolphins and the Bills about 25 minutes from now. One other note on the Dolphins. Running back Bobby Humphrey missed yesterday's team flight from Miami to Buffalo. He did catch a later flight, but he didn't travel with the team, obviously, and for that, he will be fined. He also missed a team meeting, but as you see, he's in uniform, and Don Shula says he plans to use him against the Bills. This is a weekend filled with key divisional matchups. Of the 12 games on the schedule, 8 of them are divisional games. The big one in the AFC West is in Denver between the 3-1 Chiefs and the 3-1 Broncos. For more on that, let's bring in Todd Christensen at Mile High. Todd.
Thanks a lot, Bob. You can see right there the famous pony and some of the early people getting here to get a little bit of a munch prior to the 3 hours that will decide who is going to have sole possession of first place in the AFC West. Bob, here in this community, they've been kind of dissing the Denver Broncos a little bit, saying that they're not as good as their 3-1 record, and there's a lot of responsibility on them to prove they're for real. Well, Bob, I think the responsibility really today lies with the Kansas City Chiefs, and here's why. Monday Night Football, of course, Barry Word and the Kansas City Chiefs ran roughshod over the Los Angeles Raiders, and as a result, everybody jumped on that Chiefs bandwagon saying this is now the team to supplant Buffalo as the best in the AFC. But as you can see by this graphic, they've had a lot of difficulty here at Mile High Stadium. And Marty Schottenheimer confided to me, Bob, that to get to the next level, they have to prove that they can beat a quality team away from home. I would say, Bob, that if they can beat the Denver Broncos here today and take sole possession of first place in the AFC West, they just might be the heir to the throne the Buffalo now possesses.
All right, Todd, thanks a lot. Of course, the Broncos having lots of trouble offensively, but Schottenheimer historically, whether with the Browns or the Chiefs, lots of trouble with the Broncos and Elway's only beaten them one time. Offense is not going to be the problem at Rich Stadium. We've got some of the best skill players in the entire AFC on the field today as the Bills and Dolphins go at it, and the single most dangerous is, of course, Thurman Thomas.
Without question, Bob. Thurman Thomas is one of the few guys in the league that can play running back and wide receiver. The Eagles have a guy, Keith Byars, Browns, Eric Metcalf. That's normally where Thomas will be lined up in the backfield next to Kelly. Here he's lined up as a wide receiver, isolates the 49er linebacker, Bill Romanowski, who has safety help inside, but he doesn't get the opportunity to use it because Thomas is running a pattern down to the corner, and you see the safety's inside, but Romanowski can't use the help, and Kelly just lays it up. Thomas wins the foot race.
He had a tremendous game 2 years ago against you guys in the Super Bowl, but you won in spite of it. But he was tremendous that day.
Well, the guy lines up every place, and he's like a brush fire. You know, you get him stopped running, then he's out on the flank. It's tough to deal with this guy.
Now, when the Dolphins have the ball, O.J. alluded to this earlier, Bruce Smith historically has not had good success against Richmond Webb. They didn't face each other last year. Smith was hurt for both meetings with the Dolphins, but in 3 previous games, he's never had a sack and only 7 tackles when being blocked by Richmond Webb. Willie?
Yeah, Bob, that's a good observation. I talked to Don Shula just about this matchup this past Tuesday.
Marks over the years have been his ability to bring his team back late in the game and his tremendous durability. 20 times in his 10-year career, he's rallied the Dolphins to victory after trailing in the 4th quarter. And is he durable? Well, he became the Dolphins starter in 1983, and he hasn't missed a start since. By far the longest streak for a quarterback in the league. Last week against Seattle, he showed both of those qualities, taking a tremendous hit from the Seahawks' Rufus Porter, but then coming back after missing just 1 play to throw the game-winning touchdown to Fred Banks. Now, we turn to O.J. in Buffalo. You spent some time in Miami this week with Marino, Juice.
I tell you what, he's happy and he's healthy. And his performance last week, the comeback anyway, is now typical of a Dan Marino performance. Now, I know the Bills watched him on film all week, and they know that whenever Dan Marino's at quarterback, the Dolphins are a dangerous team.
Like that in a game, that's probably the hardest hit I've taken. I've been hit in the head before and felt, you know, a little different and foggy-like, but there's definitely, in this case, I was.
Marino is down and trying to collect himself after a vicious hit.
He always talks about how tough he is and how much he can take a hit. And he says as long as they don't get to his knees, he can take a hit from anybody up top. He didn't look like he could take a hit then. He can't take a knockout.
Dan was declared okay to go back in. He went back in and threw a touchdown pass, and then later on came out and didn't remember that he threw the touchdown pass.
I didn't go to USC. I went to Pitt, so I can't.
I mean, they told you were hurt. You must have asked them, well, what is that?
Yeah. I think it was just kind of a delayed effect, and I think it really what it came down to was after the excitement and all that, I kind of felt weak and just the anxiety of taking that hit and trying to figure out what was happening. Kind of, I think it makes you a little nervous. That's all. That's what it was.
Well, when we got on the plane after the game, I said, hey Dan, I know this is a bad time. I said before the game, I gave you that 500 for the whole format. I said, you think I can get it back now? He didn't know. He didn't remember it or anything. He started handing me $100 bills over the seat, you know.
Marino's 4th quarter comeback last week was nothing new. In fact, it was the 20th of his career and his 2nd in 3 games this season. Marino, the comeback has become a personal trademark.
They've seen me throw past to Mark Duper to win a game or to throw past to Clayton to win a game, and they know that we're capable of doing it. So I think it kind of feeds off of the past history.
He's got that intense, fiery desire to win. He wants to win. You know, every time he's out there, he wants to win. He likes everybody around him to have the same attitude that he has. He just wants to win every game and don't want to mess up on not one play.
That was sort of a problem early on in the career. You know, a receiver drop a ball, Dan would visibly show his displeasure.
Oh, yeah.
Marino is incensed, and it's a Duper who he feels did not run the pattern he called.
Dan is very excitable. He's an intense competitor. He wants to win. If things don't go
well for him. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. Everybody knows about it. The players know about it. The coaches know about it. By the same token, if Dan makes a mistake on his own and he thinks he's made that mistake, he'll come off and say, that was on me.
Now in his 10th NFL season, Marino's passing credentials already rank him among the game's elite quarterbacks. But it's his durability that gives him the most pride.
Knowing that my teammates can count on me being there, and I think it's over 120-some games now. I think that's the one I'm probably most proud of, and also touchdown passes, because, you know, that's scoring points, and that's going to help your team too.
Dan is something special. He's going to have all the records if he can stay healthy, and the guy that has all the records should be remembered as the best.
Well, I don't want to get into an argument about the greatest quarterback of all times. Names like Joe Montana and Johnny Unitas come to mind, but when it comes to pure passing the football, you have to go a long way to find somebody who can throw it better than Dan Marino, Bob.
O.J., very impressive that you bring your entire fleet of trumpeters to kind of herald your arrival. But a point that Don Shula made about Dan Marino is a little bit like your relationship with Phil Simms. Simms was, for you, and continues to be, a guy who will be fiery and question things and state his point of view. And here's just a small example of that. Roll it in, boys.
Hey, well, you know, it's important that everybody on the team and in the organization knows the quarterback's a fighter.
From the Silver Dome is that he will start at quarterback today despite that sprained ankle. Rodney Peete gets the start against the New Orleans Saints. Now let's head back down on the field under the Metrodome, where the Vikings host the Bears, and where Leslie Visser joins us live with a look at the man behind Minnesota's 3-1 start. Where else would you expect the leader of the Vikings to be but out on a boat? Hello, Leslie.
Greg, you know, Dennis Green is a legitimate fisherman. My goal for the day was not to get the hook caught in the back of my head. Well, folks around here are pretty excited about Dennis Green, and he's an interesting guy. He rose from the inner city of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, one step from the projects, to become an NFL head coach. He was a campus radical in the 60s, and he's also a guy who knows how to have a little fun, be an outdoorsman. In fact, he told me he is the baddest bass fisherman in all of Lake Minnetonka.
If we win, I fish early Monday morning before going to work. Fish and then go to work about 8 o'clock. If we don't win, I don't fish. I go to work at 6:30.
He's been fishing more than anyone expected. Off to a 3-1 start, tied for first in the NFC Central. The Vikings have a hunger not seen around these parts in years.
Tell me about the Minnesota Vikings. Did they need a kick in the butt?
Oh, I don't think so. What we've just tried to do is put together an organization, a football team that plays hard, that works hard. You kind of get what you earn. I've never wanted anything that I haven't earned, and so I don't want to be babied. I don't want my players to be babied. I'm not spoiled. I want my players to be spoiled. What I like people to understand is I'm a product of the 60s. I really am. I mean, I think that, and I love that idea.
In the promise of the 1960s, young black men thought they could transcend the differences of race. Dennis Green led campus protests while playing at Iowa. He became the first black head coach in the history of the Big Ten when he rebuilt a woeful program at Northwestern.
One way you get to the top of the mountain, you've got to be in the bottom of the valley. We've been there. We're not going back anymore.
Following Art Shell of the Raiders, Green became only the second black head coach in the NFL, a distinction he and so many others wish weren't so significant.
I don't think it's only the National Football League. I think that's just the state of America, the way they look at things. You know, he's a good football coach. It just happens that he's African-American.
As my grandmother said, when you knock on opportunity's door, make sure all your bags are packed right then. And she said, you can't say, wait a minute, I'll be right back. I didn't think you were going to open the door for me, and I'm really not ready.
His team is ready, better prepared, and more aggressive than people imagined, and playing with a swagger.
I don't think it's a good idea to try to be a playoff team by going the way of the wild card. We want to win the division. Miss Lynn, what time we get? You got one, girl. It's a fish. Take your time.
Right.
It's a.
Oh God!
It's a muskie.
It's a whale.
It's a muskie. You're doing northern rather.
Oh God! Well, what do I do? I have no idea what I'm doing.
You're in great shape. You're doing good. Just reel it.
No, he went away.
No, he didn't. He's still on there. That's why he's right there. Back over to the left.
Is that the biggest fish you ever saw?
Nope.
Men, why do they have to be so competitive? Well, 1/4 of the way through the season in a tough division, Green has all his hands on deck.
Players, they love it when I yell and I say, all right, guys, everybody's on board. We're ready to sail. And what that means is nobody is on this boat who shouldn't be here. We should have confidence in every single guy here. That's been our approach.
Dan Marino over the last decade or so, Mark Duper and Mark Clayton. Here's how they feel.
It's unfair, you know, as far as I'm concerned. I've been here for 11 years, and I feel that I gave my heart and soul to the Dolphins, but if that's what they want to do, you know what I mean, it's their money. They can do anything they want with their money.
Here it is, they bring in another guy and give him a bushel load of money, and I can't even get an offer.
You know, even with the very good teams in Miami, may have had serviceable tight ends, but never a great one. He hasn't had a weapon like this since the Baltimore Colt days with John Mackey. And if Duper and Clayton just think about it on the field, one of them's going to get single coverage now, right? It's got to help.
I don't think there's any question that Jackson's very versatile in the passing game, but I don't know whether he's going to do what Farrell Edmonds does in the running game for the Dolphins. I think just throwing the ball, Jackson's a top prospect.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. One of the offshoots of this thing is they're now trying to trade Farrell Edmonds. They already got him out there in the trading block asking other teams, give us somebody that can help us on defense this year and we'll have a deal, or give us a high draft choice next year and you get Farrell Edmonds. So that's part of this whole thing, is they could spin him off and get him out of Miami.
Now, I would guess there might be a similar reaction in Houston, where the players over the years haven't been so happy with Bud Adams, who was pretty tough in contract negotiations. Now they bring in a free agent like Webster Slaughter. They have lots of guys at the ends of their contracts, key players who could become free agents next year.
Bob, that's a heck of a point. And this week I called Mike Holloway, the general manager, and I asked him just this question. He said, Will, we're going for all of it, and we need Webster Slaughter. Our two guys out there, Jeffries and Duncan, are getting worn out. It would be great to have three of them that can go in and play that position and stay fresh. But he said the big difference in this was he paid Webster Slaughter exactly or close to what he would have got in Cleveland. He said Webster Slaughter didn't want to play in Cleveland anymore because they didn't throw the ball, and this is why it was easy for them to sign him in Houston.
Deion Sanders, meanwhile, puts the baseball uniform back on for the playoffs this week for the Braves against the Pirates and maybe beyond into the World Series. This guy's going to make a bushel load of money, free agency or not.
He is, Bob. You know, we've talked about this before in the show, maybe not on the air, but why doesn't the guy simply go and play one sport? You know, he can make a bundle in baseball or football. He doesn't have to go through this, but it seems as though he's got a great contract just starting out with Nike. But it is only good if he plays both sports. They can terminate if he doesn't, but if he just plays baseball, let's say, he doesn't even make $100,000. If he plays both, he makes $1 million or more, and there's a great chance for a spinoff from these different advertisements he has.
What are your thoughts about this guy?
I think he's a very good football player. Now, I don't have the ability to judge him as a baseball player, but I know he can help the Falcons win games, and when he's not there, that hurts him.
As a coach, how would you deal with it? I know you're a baseball fan, and you understand why he wants to play baseball at this stage, and he's a heck of a baseball player, but as a football coach, how would you deal with it?
I think the coach always goes back to the same thing. You coach the guys that are there. If he's there, you coach him, you use him. You wish he was there, but, you know, he could get hurt any Sunday, and he won't play. So coaches are usually pretty resilient in that regard.
NFL on TNT. The Patriots will grind it out. The Jets will air it out. But who's gonna tough it out? Patriots and Jets next Sunday.
Honey, like swinging on a vine. You got yours and I got mine.
For cleaning and bright colors. New Cheer with Color Guard Bleach.
Hey, Frosted Flakes fans, got a sweet spot. Hit it with a sweet shot. Sweetest honey going. Crispy corn, whole grain wheat gone. Hit your spot, crunchy, sweet.
Crunchy.
Touch of honey, it's what it's got. Put her there. Gotta have it. Wanna hit your sweet spot? Right down the middle. Hit it with a sweet shot. Sweetest honey go.
How to bake up colorful chocolate chip cookies and stir up some fun. Take Duncan Hines chocolate chip cookie mix and 2 aspiring artists. Then add your own rainbow of colors. First comes the easy part, then the artistic part. And when the masterpieces are chewy, it's time for the Cookie Critics Review. Duncan Hines.
Ross Perot meets with his supporters Monday. They meet with Clinton and Bush representatives. And then Perot joins me with your phone calls. Live from Dallas, 9 Eastern Monday night on CNN.
Together for the first time since Don't Look Now, Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie, coming October